The brass corner on my bid folder catches the conference room light when Grant pushes it back across the table. I brought this in before launch because Mercer Metal can build all 48 stands 8 miles from here, I say. 3 scheduled loads. We inspect before powder coat. No long-haul exposure. Grant looks at Vivian Shaw, the client's procurement director, and laughs. I don't pay interns to question logistics. I'm 38. I have managed Calder Hospitality Fixtures launches for 11 years. Grant knows both facts because he approves my payroll and comes to my sister's house for dinner. He rejects the local bid without opening the cost comparison. Then in front of Vivian, he calls our preferred plant in Missouri and orders rush freight. Across the table, my sister Tessa stops rolling her pen between her palms. She looks at Grant, then at my folder, as if she knew which one of us would be made to pay for this before I did. Grant puts the call on speaker. Bob, I need the Calder order moved to the front. A man coughs close to the receiver. All 48? All 48. We're at 14 business days before packaging. You told me 12. I told you 12 if the revised drawings landed Monday. Grant glances at me. The revised drawings landed Monday at 8:13 a.m. I have the transmittal receipt under the first tab in my folder. Then let's call it 12, he says. We'll send a dedicated truck. I feel Vivian watching him the way experienced buyers watch a salesman make a promise on somebody else's calendar. She wears a gray suit with a tiny snag near one cuff and has written nothing since Grant called me an intern. Her company, Astor House Hotels, is opening 4 renovated properties under the same collection. These 48 hostess stands will sit in restaurants, lounges, and rooftop bars where guests will lean against them without ever wondering who welded the shelves or why a cabinet door hangs square. Each one has a blackened steel frame, a walnut face, 2 concealed outlets, adjustable feet, and a powder-coated base that shows every careless impact. Mercer's bid is $6,840 higher than Missouri's unit price. Once freight, crating, and inspection are included, it saves $18,200. Grant could learn that by turning one page. Instead, he says, "There, solved." Vivian taps the capped end of her pen against the table. And the delivery date remains the 7th? Yes, that's the date at our installer's consolidation warehouse, not the date it leaves Missouri. Grant smiles. This is where he is good. His face gets calmer when the room gets more dangerous. Vivian, I have personally handled hotel openings since Elena was carrying coffee around this place. I started at Calder as a purchasing assistant, not an intern, and I carried coffee because the machine was beside my desk. The stands will be where you need them, he continues. We don't create problems. We remove them. Tessa's pen begins rolling again. I reach for the folder. A yellow receiving tag is looped through the brass corner guard with cotton string. It's blank except for the job number, AH-417, written in my block printing. I attach one to every first article that comes through our dock. Time received, seal number, visible condition, initials. Grant calls them luggage tags when he wants the sales team to laugh. Vivian's eyes follow the tag as I pull the folder toward me. Was the local source vetted? She asks. Yes, I say. Grant says, preliminarily. They fabricated the service credenzas for Astor House, Nashville. Under our supervision, he adds, their weld reject rate was 1.8%. Missouri's was 4.6% last quarter. Grant leans back. This is why operations people shouldn't present raw numbers without context. What context changes the reject rate? The context where we have a 10-year relationship to protect. There it is, almost respectable. Calder's annual agreement with the Missouri plant gives us favorable pricing across several product lines. We are close to the purchasing threshold for a year-end rebate. Moving 48 stands to Mercer could put that rebate at risk. Grant has a legitimate reason to care. He also has a bonus tied to gross margin. Vivian closes her notebook. Send me the confirmed freight plan by 5. You'll have it by 3, Grant says. The meeting ends with chair legs dragging and the soft click of Vivian's leather bag. I stand to walk her out, but Grant touches my folder. Leave that. My notes are in it. I mean, the Mercer bid. I untie the yellow tag and open the brass clip. The bid is 12 pages, signed on the last page by Priya Nair, Mercer's owner. I place it in front of Grant and keep the folder. He gives me a smile meant to look indulgent. See? Teamwork. Vivian is waiting at the door. Tessa remains seated with her pen held still between both hands. In the hallway, Vivian walks beside me past framed photographs of hotel bars Calder built before I worked there. Everything in those photographs is warm walnut, brushed brass, and flattering light. The actual pieces arrived on pallets with foam dust in the drawers and fingerprints under the lacquer. "How long have you been an intern?" she asks. Her expression doesn't change. 11 years. They're very thorough here. The corner of her mouth moves. 3 o'clock, Elena. I'll send the plan. Send the assumptions, too. She leaves through the glass doors. When I turn around, Tessa is standing halfway down the hall. She has the same dark eyebrows I do, but hers lift in the middle when she's worried, making her look sympathetic even when she has decided not to help. "You made him look boxed in," she says. "He boxed himself in. You corrected him 4 times in front of Astor. Twice. You were counting?" "I was there." Tessa lowers her voice. "He's trying to hold the Missouri agreement together. I gave him a way to hold the launch together. And you think he should have switched vendors in front of the client? I think he shouldn't call his launch manager an intern." Her gaze drops to the yellow tag hanging from my fingers. "I'll talk to him." "About the freight? About what he said? That's not the part that's going to cost us $30,000. She exhales through her nose. "You always do that." "Do what?" "Make the practical thing sound like the personal thing, and the personal thing sound like it doesn't matter." For a second, neither of us has anywhere to look. Then the reception phone rings, and Tessa turns toward accounting, as if she has been called by name. My desk sits behind a low partition overlooking the sample floor. On one side, designers argue about walnut stains. On the other, receiving Rolls-dented products beneath bright inspection lights and discovers what optimism costs. I call Leah Park at Blue Heron Logistics. She answers on the third ring. "Tell me Grant did not just request a dedicated team truck for a load that doesn't exist yet." He did. "I have a pickup address but no ready date, weight, dimensions, or stackability." "Not stackable. 48 fabricated stands, approximately 216 pounds each after crating." Missouri says 12 business days. Leah makes a sound like someone biting into a lemon. "Your launch is in 14. "Correct. Does the truck teleport?" "That option wasn't in your rate sheet. It's in the premium package. Leah has managed our freight account for 5 years and has the unnerving habit of becoming funnier as a situation gets worse." I trust that more than cheerful reassurance. I open a clean freight worksheet. Price a dedicated 53-foot dry van with team drivers. Also give me the cancellation window and layover terms in writing. "You think they'll split production?" "I think they'll finish whatever's easiest first and call it a phase. And Grant will discover phases like he invented them." "Please keep him copied." There is a pause. "Keep him copied," she repeats. "Anyone else?" "Me. Dennis in receiving. Bob at the plant. Every cost change. Every appointment change. Every cancellation. Elena, you know he hates a long chain. I'm developing a passion for complete chains. 3 o'clock? 3. I spend the next 2 hours building the freight plan Grant promised in 2 minutes. Missouri sends crate dimensions that don't match the drawings. Dennis Cho walks up from receiving with his tape measure still clipped to his belt and checks my calculation. "You allowed 3 inches between crates," he says, "for blocking. They'll use 2. They should use 3. They'll use 2 and send us a photograph from an angle." Dennis is 51, built like a file cabinet, and speaks in the patient tone of a man who has watched 1,000 avoidable things become emergencies. "Can you hold Dock 2 on the 7th? I ask. "Until when?" "Until I know when the truck exists." He studies my screen. "So forever. Just through lunch." I'll tell Mateo to put the portable ramp on 2. Dock 1's leveler is sticking. Work order? Submitted last week. I write it on the freight assumptions anyway. Dock 2 required. Dock 1 leveler under repair. No unattended delivery. Dennis points at the yellow tag by my keyboard. That for the first stand? If we ever see one. We'll see one. Question is whether it'll be shaped like the drawing. At 2:42, Leah sends a provisional rate. At 2:47, Bob confirms he cannot provide a firm completion date until his production meeting tomorrow. At 2:51, Grant appears beside my desk. Where's the confirmation? Waiting on the plant's ready date. I ask for a freight plan. A truck without a ready date isn't a plan. It's a donation. He glances around to see who heard. The sample floors panel saw wines behind a safety curtain. You've been negative about this order since Mercer lost the bid. Mercer didn't lose it. You rejected it before comparing landed cost. Same outcome. Not the same process. Grant places both hands on my partition. His cufflinks are small black squares, a gift from Tessa last Christmas. I know because I helped her choose them. We make money through relationships, he says. Missouri gives me priority because I don't abandon them whenever somebody local waves a lower freight bill at us. Bob just told me we don't have priority. Bob works the production desk. Bob controls the production schedule. I control the vendor relationship. There is real pride in the way he says it. Grant has flown out there during ice storms, eaten dinner with the owners, remembered which operations manager prefers bourbon and which one is sober. He has rescued orders with favors that never appeared on a purchase order. He believes those favors belong to him personally. Maybe some do. I'll send Astor a provisional plan, I say. It will state that the delivery date depends on production release. No, it will confirm the 7th. I can't confirm a date the plant won't confirm. You can if I'm authorizing it. That changes who's promising, not what's possible. His face settles, not anger, calculation. Send me the worksheet. I'll handle Vivian. At 3, Vivian receives a 1-paragraph email from Grant confirming delivery on the 7th. The attached freight summary is mine, but the assumptions page is missing. I know because Vivian replies to both of us. Thank you. Please provide the assumptions Elena referenced. Grant stares at the email from inside his glass office. Then he gets up and closes his blinds. The next morning, Missouri's production meeting produces exactly what I expected and worse than I hoped. Bob can complete 24 stands by the 4th. The remaining 24 will be ready on or around the 9th. Grant calls a huddle in his office. Tessa sits beside him with a legal pad. I remain standing because the only empty chair is covered with fabric samples. We ship the first 24 dedicated, Grant says. Second 24 on our regular consolidated trailer. That trailer is booked to leave Missouri on the 6th, I say. The second batch won't be ready. Then move the trailer. It has 2 other Calder orders on it. Moving it delays the Phoenix Bar package and the Raleigh cabinets. He points his pen at me. This is why I asked you to solve logistics, not narrate obstacles. Tessa writes something without looking up. We can cancel the consolidated trailer and book a second dedicated truck, I say. Blue Heron's cancellation charge applies after noon today. How much? $2,800 for the trailer. Dedicated truck is estimated at $7,900 per load, before detention or weekend pickup. Grant's pen stops. And Mercer? Tessa asks quietly. All 48, delivered for $5,900. No cancellation exposure. Their bid remains valid through today. Grant turns to her. We are not reopening that. She draws a line through whatever she wrote. He tells me to reserve both dedicated trucks and cancel the consolidated load. I ask him to approve the costs by email. I'm approving them now. I need the record for invoice coding. My word is the record. Tessa finally looks up. Send it to me, Elena. I'll code it from the meeting notes. Grant nods, pleased by what sounds like support. At my desk, I forward Leah every change. Split production, first dedicated truck, second dedicated truck. Cancellation of the consolidated trailer, possible weekend loading, uncertain dimensions. I copy Grant, Tessa, Dennis, and Bob. Leah replies with itemized estimates and asks each party to confirm the details affecting them. 4 minutes later, Grant comes through the glass door holding his phone. What exactly are you doing? Keeping the carrier copied on every cost change. I can see that. Then we're making progress. He doesn't smile. Take Dennis and Bob off. Tessa doesn't need the operational traffic either. They each own part of the information. I own the account. He sets the phone beside my keyboard. On the screen, my email chain is open, all those names lined up in blue beneath the subject. For the first time since the meeting, Grant doesn't look annoyed with me. He looks careful. From now on, he says, all carrier communication goes through me. Behind him, Dennis wheels an unfinished hostess stand onto the inspection floor. A blank yellow tag swings from its steel frame, turning slowly on its string. Grant follows my eyes. Then he reaches down, lifts the tag from my desk, and folds it once through the job number. The crease runs straight through AH-417. Grant puts the tag back on my desk and walks away. I smooth it against the laminate with my thumbnail, but the string has been trapped in the fold, leaving a raised white line across the job number. Dennis stops his cart beside me. He break that? He folded it. Same question. I retie the tag to my folder. Apparently, all carrier communication goes through him now. Dennis looks toward Grant's closed office. That should improve the carrier's prayer life. My computer chimes. Leah has replied to the freight chain. Before I hand communication over, please confirm the attached revision log reflects today's instructions. Her attachment lists 6 versions in less than a day. The last 2 lines are bold. Cancel consolidated trailer, authorized verbally by Grant Calder, pending written confirmation. Reserve second dedicated truck, requested by Grant Calder, production date unconfirmed. Everyone Grant told me to remove is still copied. I reply with one sentence. The revision log accurately reflects the instructions given in this morning's meeting. Grant sends his response 30 seconds later. Confirmed. All future communication regarding AH-417 should be directed to me and Jonah Bell. Jonah appears at my partition before I finish reading. He's been at Calder for 3 years, first in inside sales and now in the new role Grant created for him, sales operations coordinator. He wears white-soled sneakers that remain mysteriously white even on the sample floor. I didn't know he was doing this, he says. Doing what? He points at the email without touching my screen. Putting me on freight. Congratulations. I sold 6 lobby bars last quarter. That'll help when the driver asks about axle weight. Jonah rubs the back of his neck. I'm not trying to take your job. Then don't. His hand drops. Okay. It comes out sharper than he intended. For a moment, neither of us plays nice. Then he leans closer. What do I actually need to know? I could let him fail. The idea is warm for half a second. Dock 2, I say. Dock 1's leveler is under repair. No appointment before 8 because Dennis's crew starts at 7:30. Get the crate dimensions before dispatch. Make Bob photograph the blocking before they seal the trailer. 3 inches between crates, minimum. Jonah pulls out his phone. Don't put it in your notes app. Email it to yourself and Grant. He looks at me. You'll want the timestamp. By lunch, Grant has removed me from the Missouri production thread, the Blue Heron booking thread, and the internal launch calendar. My access to the shared job folder remains because Tessa set the permissions years ago, and nobody thinks of spreadsheets as doors. The freight budget changes while I watch. $15,800 becomes $18,100 when Leah adds team driver service to protect the first delivery date. Then $20,900 after the cancellation fee. The customer-approved freight allowance is $7,200. I'm studying the variance when Tessa stops beside my desk with 2 takeout containers. Risotto, she says. Grant made too much. Grant has never made too much risotto in his life. He weighs the rice. He made too much on purpose. So you could bring me a peace offering? So you could eat lunch? The containers are still warm. Grant makes excellent mushroom risotto. He stands over the stock and adds it one ladle at a time, which requires a kind of patience he considers weakness everywhere else. Tessa sits in Dennis's empty chair. He shouldn't have called you an intern. You said you'd talk to him. I did. And? He said Vivian understood it was a joke. Vivian asked how long I'd been an intern. Tessa winces. That sounds like Vivian. You've met her once. I've met procurement directors. She slides one container closer. Grant thinks you were pushing Mercer because you wanted to prove him wrong. I wanted to make the delivery date. Both can be true. Is that what you told him? I told him he was reckless to promise a date before he had production confirmation. I look at her. What? I'm appreciating the occasion. Don't make me regret it. She opens her container. But I also told him you were reckless to challenge his vendor decision in front of Astor. He made the vendor decision in front of Astor. You brought the bid into the meeting because he ignored it the day before, and you knew he'd be angry. There are conversations with my sister where I can feel the floor narrowing under both of us. She knows Grant is wrong. She also knows exactly how much wrongness their life can absorb. I peel the lid off the risotto. He put Jonah on the freight account. I saw. Did you know? No. He's removed me from the launch calendar. Her fork pauses. I didn't see that. He's setting up a version of this where I'm responsible for the original plan and absent from every decision that breaks it. Elena, I'm telling you what he's doing. You're telling me what you think he's doing. I'm looking at it. She lowers her fork. Please don't turn me into accounting when you want proof and family when you want loyalty. I didn't. You do it without noticing. That lands because it is close enough to something true. Tessa puts the lid back on her food. The cancellation invoice is going to hit this month. I'll send you the coding when it comes in. Grant told Leah to send everything to him. Blue Heron invoices route through accounts payable. Then make sure the original attachments stay with them. She studies my face for a second. Eat before it turns into paste. Grant's risotto is perfect. Missouri finishes the first 24 stands on the 3rd, a day earlier than Bob expected. Grant treats this as proof that the relationship worked. The crate photographs never arrive. Jonah forwards me a message at 6:16 that evening with no greeting. Bob says, "Truck loading now." What am I checking for? I call him. You're checking the blocking photographs. He says the crew is almost done. Then they can take photographs. Grant says don't hold the driver. How many crates? 12. 2 stands per crate. Total length? A pause. Keyboard clicking. Bob gave me exterior dimensions. And 48 inches times 68 times. Wait. Multiply the long side by 12. That won't fit. No. Maybe they turned them. Maybe. Ask for the loading diagram. He goes quiet. I hear another voice in the background, then a door closing. Grant says they know how to load a truck. They do. That doesn't mean we know how they loaded this one. You want me to delay a team truck at premium rates while I make the vendor reopen it? I want you to get a photograph before the seal goes on. You're not on the account anymore. There it is. No, I say. I'm not. He exhales. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. You just don't like hearing it finished. The truck leaves at 7:02. At 7:14, Bob sends one photograph of the closed trailer doors. The seal number is blurred. The next afternoon, I walk past the launch calendar displayed on the operations screen and see the Blue Heron appointment has changed from 10 a.m. to 6:30. Dennis is beside me before I say his name. I just saw it, he says. My calendar access is read only. Mine isn't. He checks his phone. Change came from Jonah at 4:58. Cruise scheduled at 7:30. Can you move them? Mateo's taking his mother to an appointment. Luis can come at 7 if I pay the minimum call-in. The driver will sit for 30 minutes. If he shows at 6:30, dedicated drivers show early. Everyone in freight knows this, including Leah. which is why her booking confirmation says receiving personnel must be present 30 minutes before appointment. Dock 2? I ask. Dennis's mouth tightens. The portable ramp has been moved to Dock 1 for a service cabinet delivery. The maintenance crew is supposed to repair the leveler at 6. Who authorized that? Jonah. I find him in the sample room with Grant, comparing walnut panels under a light box. The Blue Heron appointment was changed, I say. Grant doesn't look up. Missouri released them early. We're recovering time. Receiving starts at 7:30. Jonah has it handled. Jonah runs his thumb along a grain sample. Dennis said he can get Luis in at 7. The driver has to wait. Then the driver waits. And Dock 2 needs the portable ramp. Grant finally turns. You're not managing this delivery. The truck is already moving, which is why changing it again would be irresponsible. I look at Jonah. Did you confirm the driver received the dock instructions? His thumb stops. Grant places the walnut sample back in its slot. We have a client status call in 8 minutes. Go update the finish tracker. At 5:54 the next morning, Dennis texts me a photograph. A Blue Heron tractor sits outside Calder's receiving bay under the security lights. Its trailer is back toward Dock 1. The red seal is still intact. The maintenance van hasn't arrived. I call Dennis instead of replying. Driver says his paperwork shows 6, he tells me. Jonah changed it again last night. Is anyone there? Me and the driver. Don't break the seal until you have a witness and the seal number. I know how to receive a truck, Elena. I know, sorry. A pause. I took the picture, he says more gently. Security camera has the arrival. I wrote the seal number down. Where? On one of your little luggage tags. I dress in 6 minutes. By the time I reach Calder, Luis has arrived, and the maintenance crew is testing Dock 1's leveler. The truck waits in the yard, engine grumbling. Detention started at 6:24. Dennis stands by the trailer with a yellow tag tied around the latch. He has written 5:49 a.m., seal intact, and the 6-digit number in black marker. Grant pulls into the lot as the seal is cut. He gets out carrying 2 coffees. Great, everybody's here. Dennis looks at the coffees, then at me. The first crate is wrong before the forklift touches it. One corner has punched outward, splitting the plywood. A crescent of black powder-coated steel shows through. Grant lowers both coffees. Careful, he calls to Luis. Luis has not moved. The plywood comes off under the inspection lights. The 2 stands inside are packed face to face with a strip of foam between them. One frame is racked. Both base corners are crushed. The next crate has the same 2-inch blocking Dennis predicted, already compressed by the journey. 6 stands are visibly damaged. 4 more rock when we set them on the floor. Grant walks around them with his jaw set. Receiving should have refused the load. The trailer was sealed, Dennis says. We couldn't inspect the crates until we opened it. You accepted compromise packaging. I noted it before unload. Grant turns to me. Where's the exception form? Jonah owns the delivery. I asked where the form is. I print one from the receiving station. Grant dictates while I type. Packaging accepted by receiving despite visible exterior damage. Improper unloading procedure may have contributed to product condition. Dennis lets out a single dry laugh. I'm not putting that, I say. Grant lowers his voice. The client needs a cause. The cause isn't receiving. You don't know that. The damaged crate was visible before the forklift moved. According to whom? Dennis takes out his phone and opens the photograph from 5:49. Sealed trailer, closed doors, empty dock. He swipes to the next image. The broken crate still inside. Luis's forklift parked 6 feet away. Then he points to the yellow tag tied to the latch, its times and seal number written in permanent marker. According to me, he says. Grant looks at the tag as if it has personally betrayed him. The side door opens. Jonah steps onto the dock, pale and out of breath. Vivian moved the status call up, he says. She heard there was damage. Grant turns back to the form. Give me that. He deletes the sentence about improper unloading and replaces it with packaging failure under carrier review. Then he adds one more line. Launch manager did not secure economical freight with adequate inspection controls. He prints the form, signs his name, and slides it across the desk to me. Sign. I read the sentence again. No. His eyes stay on mine. That refusal will be documented. Use permanent marker. Grant holds the paper between us for another second, then writes, refuse to sign in the signature box. Initial that, he says to Tessa. She has come onto the dock for the status call. Her coat is still buttoned, and a damp strand of hair clings to her cheek. She reads the exception form. Elena didn't arrange this shipment. She was launch manager when the freight plan was created. The plan changed. Grant's eyes flick toward Jonah. Because operations failed to account for the production schedule, I watched Tessa's face close one careful inch at a time. She takes Grant's pen, but instead of initialing the form, she writes, Employee Dispute Statement, supporting documents pending. Grant reads it. That isn't what I asked you to write. It's what happened. Vivian appears on the receiving office monitor before he can answer. Jonah has set the laptop on a cabinet between packing slips and a box of safety glasses. Her video comes on to the sound of our dock alarm chirping as Luis reverses the forklift. Grant turns toward the screen with the same expression he wears when the first course arrives at a restaurant. Good morning, Vivian. We've identified packaging damage on 6 units. 4 additional pieces are being evaluated out of caution. Will they make the 7th? We're developing a recovery schedule now, which means no. It means I don't want to give you an answer before my team completes inspection. Yesterday, he gave her an answer before the stands existed. Vivian looks past him. Elena, what does recovery require? Grant steps slightly to his left, enough to block most of me from the camera. I've assigned Jonah to field coordination, he says. Vivian's voice stays even. I asked Elena. I move closer to the laptop. We need dimensional checks on all 24, a finish inspection under full spectrum light, and a function check on doors and concealed outlets. The 6 with crushed corners need frame evaluation before refinishing. If the frames are square, a local shop can probably repair them in 2 days. Mercer? She asks. Grant's jaw shifts. They have the equipment, I say. I'd need them to confirm capacity. And the 10 that appear undamaged? If they pass, we can release them to the installer's warehouse today. The installer is not ready today, Vivian says. Their space is reserved starting the 6th. Grant glances at Jonah. That is the first time anyone on our side seems to remember that faster freight can arrive too early. We can store the cleared units here, he says. Dennis looks around the receiving floor. 2 bar packages occupy the staging lanes, with Raleigh cabinets due tomorrow. For how long? I ask. Until the 6th. We don't have protected storage for finished walnut faces. We'll make room. Vivian writes something. Send me the inspection results by noon, the recovery plan by 2, and any storage cost before it is incurred. Grant assures her we will. When the screen goes dark, Dennis begins assigning inspections. Grant lets him get through 3 names before interrupting. Elena, office. His office smells faintly of coffee and the cedar shoe trees he keeps under a credenza. The Mercer bid sits beneath his monitor with a pink sticky note attached to the first page. Hold GC. He closes the door. You contradicted me in front of the client again. She asked me a question. You could have said we were still assessing. That would also contradict your promise. He sits down and opens my personnel file on his screen. He doesn't hide it. That is part of the performance. I'm issuing a written warning for insubordination and failure to control launch costs. You removed me from freight before the cost changes. The original recommendation came from you. My recommendation was Mercer. Your recommendation was to disrupt a strategic vendor agreement 12 days before production. Before production is when you change the production plan. He clicks into the compensation tab. Your quarterly launch bonus is discretionary. There is no warmth in my face or hands. It all seems to gather behind my ribs. That bonus is 12% of my compensation. And it reflects successful launches. It reflected successful launches when you recruited me out of restaurant equipment procurement. You called it variable because Martin wouldn't raise the base. Grant's father owns Calder. Martin comes in on Thursdays, walks the floor, and asks questions that sound casual until somebody gives him a number that does not add up. Grant has spent years convincing him that sales instinct is a form of arithmetic. "Do you want to involve Martin?" Grant asks. The question is quiet because he knows exactly what it means. Family trouble, not office trouble. Tessa between us. Holidays reorganized around who will attend. Every later conversation reduced to whether I should have embarrassed him. I want the launch record to be accurate. Then finish the inspection report and stay away from freight. He confirms the loss of my bonus with one click. I sign the warning only to acknowledge receipt. Beneath my signature, I write that the freight decision and subsequent revisions are documented in the Blue Heron email chain. Grant watches me do it. "You think copying people makes you untouchable?" "No, I think it makes the costs touchable." He gives me until noon. The inspection finds 8 damaged stands, not 6. 2 have hairline cracks at welded shelf supports. Mercer can repair all 8 by the morning of the 6th if we deliver them before 4 and authorize overtime. Priya Nair arrives herself to inspect them. She is wearing a navy work shirt with Mercer metal stitched above the pocket and small gold hoops that flash when she bends under the first frame. She runs a machinist square along the uprights and circles damaged welds with a white paint pencil. "You were lucky," she says. "The walnut faces took most of the movement." Dennis snorts. "Wood sacrificed itself for steel. Very poetic. It's expensive poetry." Priya stands. "Who packed these?" "Our strategic relationship," I say. She smiles despite herself. Grant comes onto the floor as Priya photographs the last cracked support. "What is she doing here?" "Assessing recovery," I say. "I told you to finish inspection." "This is part of inspection. You weren't authorized to engage an outside vendor." Priya straightens. "You haven't engaged me. I'm giving Elena an assessment because she asked for one." Grant turns his attention to her. "We appreciate your interest, but this order was awarded elsewhere." I gathered that from the Missouri labels. "This repair would need our approved vendor terms. You approved us for Nashville." That was a different scope. Priya slides the square into her pocket. "Then I'll send a quote for this scope, and you can reject that one too." She says it pleasantly. Dennis becomes very interested in a caster. Grant waits until she leaves before telling me the repairs will go through Missouri. Bob has offered to send a mobile technician. "From Missouri?" I ask. "From their regional service network." "Where's the technician located?" Grant looks at Jonah. Jonah checks the email. "Indianapolis." Dennis closes his eyes. The technician can arrive late on the 6th, assuming his current job finishes on schedule. Grant spends 20 minutes defending the option before Vivian responds to the recovery plan with 4 words. Use the qualified local shop. Mercer picks up the damaged stands at 3:38. Priya signs each yellow release tag and gives the duplicate copies to Dennis. By the next afternoon, she sends photographs of squared frames, clean replacement welds, and test panels curing beside the repaired bases. It is the first quiet thing that goes right. Grant presents the recovery on the client call as evidence of Calder's vendor network. He never says Mercer's name. Priya's invoice lands in accounts payable with Rush Recovery typed across the top. Tessa brings it to my desk. He wants this coded to field installation. It happened in our receiving department. I know where it happened. Then why are you asking me? I'm asking whether any of the work could reasonably be considered site preparation. No. Not even the outlet checks? They repaired freight damage. Tessa presses her lips together. He's trying to keep the launch margin above threshold. For his bonus. For the division's numbers. Both can be true. She flinches at hearing her own words returned. The second truck costs more than the first. Missouri misses Friday loading, then charges weekend labor to release the stands Saturday morning. Blue Heron adds layover protection, team drivers, and a Sunday delivery premium. Because the installer's warehouse cannot accept the load until Monday, Grant approves temporary storage at the carrier's terminal. By the time all 48 stands reach the installer, the freight and related handling total more than $29,000. Mercer's entire local delivery allowance was $5,900. Leah's invoices arrive through accounts payable. One is for the canceled consolidated trailer, the other covers the 2 dedicated trucks, detention, terminal storage, and added services. Tessa prints both and lays them side by side on her office floor because her desk is covered with launch invoices. I stand in the doorway while she traces the charges with a ruler. Grant wants the cancellation fee in site readiness, she says. That isn't site readiness. He says Astor's installer changed the acceptance window after he accelerated the first load, and he wants the dedicated trucks passed through as client-requested expedite. He ordered rush freight in front of Vivian. I was there. Then you already know. She sets down the ruler. He's offering Astor a $10,000 freight credit. That leaves them paying for the rest. He says the credit is a negotiation. If we open with everything, we have nowhere to move. He's changing the reason for the charges. He is trying to keep the client and stop Martin from taking pricing authority away from him. There it is, said aloud between us. Tessa sits on the floor among the papers, suddenly looking less like Calder's controller than my exhausted sister. If he loses that authority, she says, Martin will put him back under sales oversight. Maybe sales should have oversight. You know what that will do to him. I know what this is doing to everybody else. She looks toward the shut door. He thinks you want him humiliated. I wanted him to open a folder. The review with Astor is scheduled for Thursday. Martin adds himself after seeing the proposed credit above his approval threshold. Vivian asks for carrier backup, production records, and all cost change authorizations. Grant arrives at my desk Wednesday evening carrying the launch binder. The yellow tag is still tied to its brass corner, the fold line softened but visible. He opens it to the Mercer bid. This should never have been filed as an active sourcing document. It was active when I submitted it. It was rejected. Then market rejected. I'm removing it. Shred the duplicate too. The document in the binder is the signed original. Grant has mistaken the scan in the purchasing folder for the original because Priya signed both electronically and by hand. I lift the pages from the rings. Anything else? His shoulders loosen just slightly. Send me the final variant sheet by 9. I place the bid in my bag. On the way home, I stop at Mercer and return the signed original to Priya. She locks it in the job file with her copy of the delivery estimate. I keep the dated transmittal receipt clipped beneath the brass corner guard in my folder. At 9, Grant receives the variant sheet. Every line is coded as incurred, with no judgment about who should pay. At 9:07, he sends back his version. The cancellation fee is labeled Installer Schedule Change. The dedicated trucks are Client Expedite. Mercer's repair is Field Readiness. I forward both versions to Tessa with one question. Which one are you approving? She doesn't answer that night. By Thursday afternoon, we are seated in the same conference room where Grant laughed at my bid. Martin sits at the end of the table, silver-haired and irritated by the existence of prepared slides. Tessa has both carrier invoices in a blue accounting folder. Grant has his revised variant sheet. Vivian joins by video. Leah's square appears beside hers. Before we discuss the credit, Vivian says, I want the freight record. Grant folds his hands. Of course. Leah shares her screen. A new email is open, addressed to everyone in the review. 2 invoice files are attached beneath a revision log. Her cursor moves towards send. Leah clicks. The email leaves her screen, and a notification appears at the bottom of mine. Tessa's follows a second later. Grant's phone vibrates against the conference table. Before anyone draws a conclusion, he says, Blue Heron separates canceled service from completed service. The existence of 2 invoices does not mean we were billed twice. Vivian looks at him from the monitor. No one said you were billed twice. I asked what caused each charge. Leah opens the first attachment. The cancellation invoice is only 1 page. It shows the consolidated trailer number, the original pickup date, the noon cancellation deadline, and a $2,800 charge. Beneath that is the authorization reference. Grant Calder, 10:31 a.m. Grant leans toward the screen. That trailer could not have met the client's launch date. Correct, Leah says. Not after the second production release moved beyond its departure date. And that production delay was outside Calder's control. Martin takes off his glasses and wipes them with a square of cloth. Who selected the plant? Grant's mouth tightens. I did. Who confirmed the 7th to Astor? I did, based on information available at the time. I can see him choosing each word. He is good at this because he understands that most responsibility can be softened if you surround it with enough context. Leah opens the second invoice. It is 9 pages. The first, dedicated truck. The second, dedicated truck. Team driver premiums. Detention at Calder's dock. Weekend release. Terminal storage. Sunday handling. Appointment revisions. Both invoices are ready in front of everyone now, not buried inside an accounting batch or summarized into one freight number. Together, they total $29,287. Vivian asks, when did Astor request expedited freight? Grant turns 1 page of his printed packet. The opening date was fixed. That wasn't my question. The fixed installation window created the need. The installation window has been in the contract for 6 months. Grant looks at Tessa. She keeps her hands on the blue accounting folder. Leah scrolls down the revision log. The first dedicated truck was requested by Mr. Calder on Tuesday at 9:12 a.m. The consolidated trailer was canceled at 10:31. The installer acceptance window changed Thursday afternoon after the first truck had already been dispatched. And the second truck? Vivian asks. Requested Tuesday at 10:36 a.m., subject to production release. Finalized Friday after Missouri missed loading. So neither dedicated truck was requested by Astor. No. Grant's chair makes a small sound as he shifts. Leah, you're describing bookings, not the commercial reason for them. I can only confirm the instructions Blue Heron received. That's exactly what we need, Vivian says. Martin puts his glasses back on. Why is the cancellation fee labeled installer schedule change on this sheet? Grant doesn't glance at his revised variance report. He knows every line, because the original plan became unusable within the client's acceptance requirements. The original plan became unusable when Missouri missed production, I say. Grant looks at me. Elena, let me finish. Martin lifts one hand. I'd like her to finish. The room changes by half a degree. I turn the variance sheet so Martin can see it. The consolidated trailer was booked for the 6th. Missouri said the second 24 stands would not be ready until around the 9th. We canceled the trailer because there was nothing to put on it. Astor's installer later declined early receipt of the first shipment, which caused terminal storage, but it did not cause the cancellation or either dedicated booking. Martin looks at Grant. Is that accurate? It's a narrow reading of the sequence. Sequences tend to be narrow. Grant's face reddens along the cheekbones. It happens rarely, which makes it look more private than anger. Vivian asks Leah to show the first appointment revision. Leah pulls up Jonah's message moving delivery to 6:30. Then she opens the carrier confirmation stating receiving personnel had to be present 30 minutes before arrival. The driver arrived at 5:49, Leah says. Detention began at 6:24. Why did the appointment move? Vivian asks. Grant answers before anyone else can. To recover time for inspection. Was receiving staffed? We had personnel there. After Dennis came in early, I say. The scheduled crew started at 7:30. Yet the load was received. Martin looks at me. Was this the damaged load? Yes. Grant flips to the exception report. The packaging failure remains under carrier review. Leah's expression changes for the first time. Not much. Her eyebrows lift. Blue Heron denied the packaging claim yesterday, she says. The shipper loaded, blocked, and sealed the trailer. The seal was intact on arrival. Grant goes still. I haven't seen that determination. It was sent to the account contacts. His eyes move toward Jonah, who is seated against the wall with a notepad on his knee. Jonah clears his throat. It went to you and me. When? Yesterday at 4:18. And you didn't forward it? You told me all carrier communication went through you. The silence after that is almost clean. Dennis's photographs appear next. The truck under the security lights, the intact seal, the broken crate still inside while Luis's forklift sits several feet away. In the corner of the first image, the yellow tag is tied around the latch. The arrival time and seal number are readable when Leah enlarges it. Martin points. What's that? Receiving tag, Dennis says from his square on the video call. Vivian asked him to join from the dock in case the damage came up. We use them on first articles and exception loads. Who put the procedure in place? Elena. Grant's pen rolls under his palm. He catches it before it falls. Vivian studies the enlarged tag. So Calder had proof of condition before unloading. Yes, Dennis says. And the local shop repaired the damage? Mercer repaired 8 stands, function-checked all 8, and delivered them on the 6th. Vivian looks at me. What would the original Mercer order have cost to deliver? $5,900. All 48? Yes. 3 scheduled flatbed loads from their shop. And their unit price? $6,840 above Missouri's total unit price. Landed cost was $18,200 lower before the damage repairs. Grant closes his packet. The Mercer quote was not equivalent, he says. Their capacity had not been validated for the full order. Their finish line was already committed, and moving the work would have jeopardized our volume agreement with Missouri. Elena presented an incomplete sourcing recommendation in a client meeting. Vivian's gaze does not leave him. Elena presented the bid before the meeting. You rejected it during the meeting. The distinction is irrelevant. I was sitting there. Martin looks at me. Do you have the bid? Grant answers for me. It was removed from the active file because it was rejected. I open my folder. The yellow tag still hangs from the brass corner, its crease running through the job number. Beneath the clip is the transmittal receipt, 12 pages received from Mercer, signed and dated the morning of the first meeting. The signed original is with Mercer, I say. The purchasing folder still has the scan. You were told to shred the duplicate, Grant says. I was told to shred a duplicate. You handed me the original. I returned it to the issuer. Martin's eyes move from Grant to me. Why? Because the quote was still a valid supplier record, and I wasn't going to destroy Priya's signed document. Grant pushes his chair back. This is exactly the problem. She treats every management decision as something to build a case against. Tessa opens the blue folder. No, she says. This is the problem. She lays the 2 invoices on the table, side by side. Grant stares at her. Tessa's voice is quiet. You asked me to code the cancellation as site readiness, the trucks as client expedite, and Mercer's repair as field preparation. I didn't. I asked you to allocate costs according to commercial responsibility. You asked me to make the ledger agree with your negotiation. It was a proposed allocation. It was an inaccurate one. He looks at her as though she has spoken in a language they agreed never to use in public. Tessa. I posted the cancellation in dedicated trucks to inbound freight. Storage went to launch logistics. Mercer went to freight damage recovery. The actual codes are in the general ledger. You had no authority to override my direction. I'm the controller, and I run the division. Martin leans back. Not the accounting department. Grant's head turns toward his father. The old familiarity in that movement is painful to watch. Beneath the tailored jacket and the polished sentences, Grant looks briefly like a man who expected one relationship to protect him from all the others. He recovers fast. The client got 48 stands before installation, he says. We preserved the opening. That result exists because I pushed Missouri, secured premium transport, and authorized local recovery when it became necessary. He is not entirely wrong. The stands made it. He did push Missouri. Once the damage became undeniable, he stopped wasting time on the Indianapolis technician and signed Mercer's repair order. Grant's worst decisions and his real competence have been braided together all along. Vivian nods once. You preserved the opening by spending $22,000 above our freight allowance, using a recovery vendor your launch manager proposed at the beginning, and then describing the expense as ours. I offered a $10,000 credit. Astor will pay the contracted freight allowance of $7,200. Calder will absorb the remaining freight, storage, and repair costs. That is not a negotiated resolution. It's my requirement for recommending Calder on the next 3 properties. Martin's cloth appears again, though his glasses are already clean. And if we accept, we keep the current collection on schedule. Future launches use open book freight reporting. No schedule change, premium booking, or cost transfer goes forward without written operations approval. Whose approval? Grant asks. Vivian glances at me. For our account, Elena's. Grant laughs once, but there is no humor in it. A client does not assign my staff. No, a client decides whose representations it trusts. Martin asks for 10 minutes with his team. Vivian agrees. Leah signs off after saying she is available for any invoice questions. Before her square disappears, she gives me the smallest nod. The conference room door shuts. Grant stands immediately. This is absurd. We delivered the product. Vivian is using internal disagreement to claw back legitimate charges. The charges weren't legitimate as client expedite, Tessa says. You've made your position clear. My position is on the ledger. He turns to me. And you got what you wanted. I wanted the local bid reviewed. You wanted me embarrassed. I could deny it. A cleaner person might. When you called me an intern in front of Vivian, I say, part of me wanted you to feel as small as you made me feel. Tessa looks down. But I didn't book the trucks. I didn't cancel the trailer. I didn't change the dock time. I kept the record. You fed the carrier a narrative. I copied the people changing the costs. Martin sets his glasses on the table. Enough. Grant faces him. You know why I protected Missouri. I know the rebate. Losing that threshold affects every order we have with them. Then it belonged in the sourcing comparison. Elena was trying to switch vendors 12 days before launch. She gave you the comparison before launch. Grant's hands open. You're taking her side because Vivian cornered us. Martin looks tired rather than angry. I'm taking the numbers side because they don't have family dinners. Tessa closes the accounting folder. Martin accepts Astor's terms. He tells Vivian when she returns that Calder will issue a credit for every dollar above the contracted allowance and adopt the approval controls before the next purchase order. Vivian says she will hold her recommendation until she sees the written procedure. Grant stays silent through the rest of the call. Afterward, Martin asks Tessa and me to remain. Grant remains too, though nobody asks him. Pricing authority for hospitality launches moves to a 3-signature process: sales, finance, and operations. Grant keeps responsibility for client development and vendor relationships, but he cannot approve freight pass-throughs or margin changes alone. Martin requires a review of the last 3 launches, not because he expects fraud, he says, but because he no longer trusts the coding process Grant tried to use. Grant hears demotion in every sentence. Maybe he is right. My written warning is rescinded. My quarterly bonus is not restored. The launch missed its cost target, and Martin refuses to change the compensation formula after the result. That means I pay for his decision, I say. It means the current plan is badly designed, Martin says. I'll correct it going forward. Going forward doesn't put this quarter back. No, at least he does not dress it up. I tell him I will not manage another launch under discretionary authority. If my signature carries liability with a client, it carries power inside Calder. Schedule changes need my approval. So do premium freight, receiving exceptions, and vendor substitutions after release. My base salary must reflect the work instead of depending on a bonus Grant can remove. Martin does not agree that afternoon. For 3 days, we negotiate. On the 4th, Tessa sends the final role document. Senior Launch Manager. Written operational approval. A higher base beginning next quarter. No retroactive bonus. At the bottom, beneath Martin's signature, is a second line. Accepted, Elena Ruiz. I sign it. The family dinners stop. Tessa and I speak about invoices, credits, and month-end close invoices so professional they could be laminated. Grant stops coming through operations unless he needs a sample for a client. When he does, he addresses me by my title with such precision that it feels sharper than silence. He does not leave Calder. He returns to the work he is actually good at. Within 2 months, he sells a renovation package to an independent hotel group, then submits the freight assumptions to me before he gives them a delivery date. I approve them after changing 2 lines. He does not thank me. He also does not override them. Tessa comes to my apartment one Sunday carrying the container from the risotto. It has been washed so thoroughly the plastic has turned cloudy. I kept forgetting this, she says. You could have kept it. I don't need another container with no matching lid. I let her in. She stands in my kitchen while I make coffee. We talk about Martin's launch review, then about a restaurant she tried with Grant, then about nothing for almost a full minute. I'm still angry with you, she says. I know. And I'm angry with him. I know that too. He thinks I chose you. You chose the ledger. That distinction is more useful to you than it is in my house. I set her coffee down. She wraps both hands around the mug. Did you enjoy it when Leah sent those invoices? Yes. Her eyebrows rise in the middle. Not all of it, I say, but the moment he couldn't rename what he'd done? Yes. Thank you for not lying. I'm sorry it hurt you. That isn't the same as being sorry you did it. No. She nods slowly. It is not forgiveness. It is the first honest thing that has fit between us in weeks. The next Astor order goes through competitive sourcing. Mercer wins on landed cost, finish capacity, and its repair performance. Priya makes me inspect the first welded frame under light, bright enough to expose every grind mark. You approving this one in public? She asks. In writing. Less dramatic. I'm trying something new. On delivery morning, 3 Mercer flatbeds arrive 20 minutes apart. Jonah sends the dock instructions the night before with crate dimensions, driver names, photographs of the blocking, and the seal information for the enclosed finish panels. He copies Dennis, Tessa, Leah, and me. Dennis meets the first truck at Dock 2. The nearest hostess stand rolls under the inspection lights without a wobble. Its blackened steel frame is square. The walnut face catches a warm stripe of sun from the high windows. I tie a fresh yellow tag around the frame and write the arrival time. My old folder rests on the inspection table beside me. The brass corner guard holds the completed Mercer bid, the fold in the previous tag still faintly visible beneath it. Priya signs the delivery line. Dennis initials receiving. Then he turns the clipboard toward me. My name is printed on the approval line. I sign it, clip the tag beneath the brass corner, and let the ink dry.